Welcome to Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning. That's me. Oh, hi. Welcome to my schoolhouse. Now it's time for everybody's favorite subject, math. Answer the three questions.
Baldi, I do it. Okay, now trust me.
I see you, friend. I'm collecting for all eternity.
Great girl, one. I want to play with someone.
I have lost you. I realize that. I am coming, ready or here I come. Looks like it's sweeping time. Gotta sweep, sweep, sweep. Oh, no. Gotta sweep, sweep, sweep. Gotta sweep, sweep, sweep. I am coming, ready or gotta sweep, sweep, sweep. Welcome to Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning. That's me. Oh, hi. Welcome to my schoolhouse. Now it's time for everybody's favorite subject, math. Answer the three questions correctly, and you might get some things. I can't believe it. You're incredible. Problem.
The principal.
Ready already?
Okay, that's fine.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Gnome Show, starring Courage, the Cowardly Gnome. Abandoned as a pup, he was found by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband, Eustace Bay. But creepy stuff happens in nowhere. It's up to Courage to save his new home. Stupid dog! You made me look bad. My name is Fred. The words you hear are in my head. I said my name is Fred, and I've been very naughty. I can't wait for that wee lad Fred to arrive. That freak's not setting one freaky foot in this house. The story I'm about to tell, I tell you, I will tell it well, is of my dear Aunt Muriel, and just how I've been naughty. The freak's a barber, a freaky barber, with his own freaky barber shop, where freaky things happen, freaky barber things. Voila, the farm. My aunt lives here, with precious pup and husband, dear. My heart beat fast as I drew near. I felt so nice and naughty. What was he said? I thought just how excited they must be that I would come today. They'd shout, "Come, Fred, huzzah, hooray! Dear boy, you look so naughty."
Ah, Fred, my dear nephew, what brings you to our cozy corner of the world?
Holiday.
Courage! Come and meet Fred!
Ah! naughty spelled, and that's how I spell
Doggy dog.
naughty.
Gotta go to the hardware store and get the, fix the bathroom door. Just don't try shutting it, because you won't be able to get it open.
Eustace, our guest is here. Say hello to Fred.
Yeah. Hiya. Freak.
Just now. You must be exhausted, Fred, dear. Would you like to freshen up?
Yes, been quite a trip it has.
Show Fred the bathroom, please, Courage. Such a fuss. This rudeness won't do.
Okay, I'll do it. But I won't like it.
Okay, I'm going. Freak.
Eustace, dear, could you do me a favor? I forgot to give Fred fresh towels. Would you bring him some?
You give him to the freak. Whoops.
I heard the door slam.
The door slammed.
Oh.
Well, I guess I better get.
Now don't you boys worry. Eustace will be back soon to get the door open.
Alone was I with tender courage, and all his fur is furry courage, which I say did encourage me to be quite naughty. Courage. Your hair. It reminds me of the first time I knew just how I felt about hair. It was a day I cannot forget, the day that I first met my pet. Oh, what a lovely gift to get. I'd never felt so naughty. My fuzzy friend is what he was, this darling little ball of fuzz. And oh, such fuzz, it does demand that I be naughty. He looked at me, his fetching eyes, and fetching fur did hypnotize. I feel joy, I feel surprise, and that's when I got naughty. Now. You shouldn't play in the toilet.
Don't worry, boys. Eustace should be at the hardware store by now.
This dripping hair, this droopy curl, unfurl sweet memories of a girl with tresses, oh, they'd twist and twirl and tempt me to be naughty. Barbara, my love, was named, and her fair hair amain untamed. Until one evening, I'm ashamed, I got a little naughty. On my young love's face was sweet as lace. But in this case, I realized she needed space. I never more was naughty. Well, maybe not never. Playful little scamp.
Is everything all right in there? Just can't wait for those pancakes, can ya? Eustace will be back any moment now.
Merried for magic. Behold, sustenance hungry well. Dear cur, your fur and fleece remind of nothing found in humankind, but for one fellow who did find me to be innocent. Into my shop he walked one day, with bush above and beard bouquet. That's no to pay, I pray, no way. I could help but be,
Just a trim, partner.
I'd never seen such hair before. Bangs they sang, his neck it beckoned, eyebrows, armpits, all were reckoned. Soon I figured, what the heck, and guess how I was naughty. Afraid I'll shave your tail? Why, now, that would be weird.
Surround the area. Cut the power. We don't want anyone getting saved in there.
So ends our little story. What took them so long? But then my landlords did presume to free me from that porcelain tomb and ferry to a private room. Your hero, ever Doughty.
What a lovely visit. Too bad Eustace didn't get to say goodbye.
Goodbye, dear aunt. I'll miss your farm, and Eustace's ebullient charm. And farewell, courage. What's the harm if I was slightly naughty? With love, Fred.
Stupid dog!
Escape to the world of anime with the Funimation app in both subs and dubs. You can stream and download anywhere, completely ad-free and in HD on the devices you love. What are you waiting for? Start your free trial now.
No one
Courage the
cares.
Cowardly Dog is one of the most bizarre cartoons I've ever seen in my life. I seriously wonder how many kids experienced nightmares growing up because of the show's CGI. But it wasn't just the unsettling vibes that made this cartoon unique. It was also the morals. And, well, this show was certainly not shy about being too real, I'll say that. Some of these episodes are dark. The second to last episode, for example, is the flashback that focuses on how Courage's parents got kidnapped and sent to outer space by an evil scientist. There's a scene where Courage literally sits at a table for an entire day, just contemplating his life, severely traumatized by his childhood memories. It's actually pretty deep. Mario and Eustace take him to a vet to help cure his depression, but it just so happens that it's the same vet that abducted his parents. The beauty of this episode is witnessing Courage conquering the fears of his past and getting revenge on that evil scientist. The ending to this episode is satisfying, but it doesn't even compare to the final episode, perfect. This episode starts with Eustace criticizing Courage for not doing things the quote-unquote proper way. Courage then attempts to help Muriel cook a dish, but things don't go as planned, so he starts to believe self-consciously that he can't do anything right. And that's when a mysterious school teacher named the Perfectionist appears. Strangely, Courage is the only one who can see this character, which implies that she's just a fragment of his imagination. Throughout the episode, Courage struggles with emulating the perfectionist standards. It gets to a point where he suffers from burnout and is on the brink of insanity. That is until a fish in a bathtub gives Courage some words of advice.
There's no such thing as perfect. Huh? You're beautiful as you are, Courage. With all your imperfections, you can do anything.
I have to give credit to this cartoon for tackling deep and emotional messages like this. It's something you can't fully appreciate until you're an adult. The truth of how imperfection is an illusion is one of the most important lessons that I personally have ever learned throughout my lifetime. It's the ultimate message that I try to preach in my videos, to express yourself fully, openly, and honestly. That's why we were all created to begin with. What's so fun about living someone else's life? You are perfect by default. And all the people who say you'll never make it because you don't fall in line with the boring standards set by society can screw off. That logic is fundamentally flawed. What even is imperfection? The whole concept of it is completely subjective, and I would argue, doesn't even exist. Not everything is going to turn out the way it was originally intended, and that's okay. We can still find beauty by making the most of what we do have. Society shames us all the time for the smallest things that don't even matter. That's why it's so easy to get caught up in trying to impress everybody and getting frustrated when we realize that's impossible to do. True happiness comes from expression and not impression. That's how Courage defeats the perfectionist at the end of the episode, with his creativity. And as a result, in the final scene, we can see he has finally accepted himself for who he is. Eustace is enjoying his broken horn and is letting Courage eat at the table. Muriel is still optimistic and smiling. Everything is perfect. This ending is perfect. This episode is perfect. This show is perfect. And you watching this, you are perfect.
Yes, I am. Almost half an hour.
Stupid dog!
Stuck on homework? Snap any math or science problem. Get free answers in seconds.
If you want to hear the unknown origins and abilities of the other mother that we don't see in the story, then stick around to the end of this video. This lesson is sponsored by Audible.
Hello? Hi! How are you? I miss you. Bye.
As children grow up, they're absorbent to everything exposed to them. This is the age where they're molded and developed into the person they're going to be. As such, they deserve the best media television has to offer. But when a character becomes so real that children can start to relate and feel with them, it's powerful. So today, I'm going to count down the saddest moments in kid shows. Before there's a damn war zone in the comments, spoilers, these moments may not be sad now as we get older, but they definitely were when we were kids. And that's kind of the point. And some moments will mean more to me if it's from a show I grew up with. Anyways, this is the top 20 saddest moments in kid shows. Number 20. Merried Melodies. Feed the Kitty. This is a classic. Mark the Bulldog befriends and takes care of a small kitten. Throughout the episode, he tries to hide the small cat from his owner so that she won't get kicked out.
Now I have seen everything.
But she eventually ends up in an electric mixer to be made into cookies. Then she is made into morbidly animal-shaped cookies. It gets even more depressing when Mark places the cookie on his back, just like how the small kitten used to. But we learn that she actually got out of the mixer when Mark was thrown out of the house, and she's safe. Thank God, because before that, the ending was just tear-jerking. Number 19. The World of David the Gnome. The ending. In the series finale, David and his wife Lisa must travel to the mountains of beyond. This is because gnomes only live to be 400 years old, and they will soon be approaching that age. They all share a cheer about their mandatory death with their friend Casper, who also will be passing soon.
Don't cry, my friend. Don't cry. After we've gone, you'll find some new friends, I'm sure of it.
Through thick snow and heavy winds, they all say their farewells to each other and prepare for the afterlife.
Farewell, my dear David, my husband, my love.
Farewell, my beloved. I thank you for all the love you've given me.
Number 18. Cat Dog, The Great Parents Mystery. In this 3-part special, Cat Dog are on a quest to find their parents. They meet aliens, fish monsters, and even a village of cats and dogs who live happily together in peace. Alas, they're still unable to reunite with their parents. That is until they literally run into this creature.
Hi-ho, Diggity! Mommy! Daddy! I finally found my boys.
It's got 4 eyes! Well, actually, 2 of them are mine.
That's right, they're Cat Dog's parents. Not their biological ones, but they raised them, fed them, loved them, and made them who they are today. We learn that they were tragically separated from each other due to a tornado erupting from the ground. Fortunately, they do reunite, but that sucks how they were separated. And we still don't know who their parents really are. Number 17. American Dragon Jake Long, Homecoming. This show was awesome. Yes, the art style changed mid-series because of a new director, and I'm one of the few that actually prefers the new, sharper style. I don't know, it just reminds me of Spectacular Spider-Man. But the show still kicked ass. In what was supposed to be the series finale, this episode had Jake and Rose nominated as Homecoming King and Queen. But when the huntsmen managed to capture the last Aztec skull, they tried to use it to wish away all mythical creatures, including Jake. Instead, Rose knocks the huntsman out at the last moment, calling for the destruction of all huntsmen instead, including herself. Jake then grabs the main skull, wishing for Rose to have never been taken by the Hunt clan. The next day, Jake reunites with Rose. The wish came true. But since she was never taken at birth, she led a completely different life, and doesn't even know Jake.
So, I guess I'll see you around.
Actually, you won't. My dad got a job overseas. We're leaving for Hong Kong first thing tomorrow. Well, it was nice talking to you.
You too, Rose. Happy homecoming.
Number 16. The Ren and Stimpy Show, son of Stimpy. Oh, calling this a kid's show is hard, but it was on daytime Nickelodeon, so it counts. John Kay, the creator of the show, stated that if he made more heartwarming stories, Nickelodeon would let him do more gross stories. In this episode, Stimpy gives birth to a fart, who gets lost. And that's it. The rest of the episode is just about Stimpy being a distraught mother trying to find her baby. Now, the episode still has its familiar imagery and animation, but it's way sadder than usual. Number 15. The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Baby Doll. This show has tons of emotional moments, focusing hard on giving all the villains an actual backstory and some character. But the one gem that everyone looks over is Baby Doll, a woman with a weird condition that prevents her from looking older. She used to be a hit star on a television show before being upstaged and leaving. Now she can't find any work, so she tries to capture her old cast members to recreate her once hit show. It's a little silly, but you really do feel bad for Baby Doll. And it's the third act that really gets to you. How she's essentially running away from the reality that Batman represents, and even forced to confront herself. Number 14. Adventure Time. I Remember You. Wow, what a bright, simplistic, and colorful show. Surely there isn't anything sad in this series. Oh. I've talked about the episode I Remember You before, but let's do this. Ice King, without a doubt, is one of the most tragic characters in the show, and this episode explores his relationship with Marceline, the Vampire Queen. We learn that the Ice King, or Simon as he used to be called, took care of a young Marceline during the events of the war. But since then, Simon has now been reduced to a crazy, pathetic old man who has been suffering from insanity to the point where he doesn't even remember Marceline. She was desperate to make her only childhood friend and father figure remember her. Number 13. Justice League Unlimited, for the man who has everything. Based on the comic of the same name, Batman and Wonder Woman travel to the Fortress of Solitude to visit Superman on his birthday. They discover an alien-looking parasite on Superman's chest, causing him to hallucinate. While Batman tries to remove it, and Wonder Woman fights Mongol, Superman is trapped in a dream where his home planet Krypton was never destroyed, and he lives with a lady named Loanna and their son, Vanel. But Superman has this repeated feeling that something isn't right. It dawns on him that, yeah, Krypton did explode when he was a child, and he really lives on Earth. As his utopian life begins to fade away, he has to tell his son that this isn't real. He isn't real. Number 12. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Cookie Chomper III. In this episode, the Chipmunks find a stray cat and name her Cookie Chomper III. The boys tried their hardest to keep their pet a secret, but eventually Dave finds out. Dave agrees to keep Cookie despite his allergies, and even buys her a collar and a tag. Soon after, Cookie Chomper III sneaks out and gets hit by a car and killed. Dave shows the collar to the Chipmunks, but Theodore interprets it as, she's just lost without her collar.
What are you doing, Theodore? Theodore, Cookie Chomper is dead. Theodore, remember the man who came over this morning?
Alvin gets rid of all things alive so that they don't have to deal with another loss again, and even Simon is moping. They all blame each other, but Dave assures them that it's no one's fault, and soon, they'll all be able to remember her in a more positive light. Number 11. Steven Universe. Jesus Christ, can this show be depressing at times? Those bright colors and quirky characters are misleading. In the episode On the Run, we learn that Amethyst is a byproduct of whatever horrible event that the Homeworld Gems were trying to accomplish. The fact that she hates what she is, and thinks that everyone thinks of her as a mistake, or a monster, is crazy saddening.
I'm not gonna let you stand there and remind me of everything I hate about myself!
Her and Pearl even begin to fight because of how bad she feels. Steven tries to break up the fight before an old gem machine smashes onto Amethyst.
Amethyst! Amethyst! Amethyst!
She's fine, but damn. I heard people can relate to Amethyst's internal struggle of identity or disorders. It's very brutal to watch. But the episode I keep hearing about is Rose's scabbard as one of the big emotional highlights of the series. After finding the scabbard that used to belong to Rose, Pearl begins to go off about how the two of them battled alongside each other, and that Rose held many secrets from people. But not Pearl. The two obviously had a really close connection. As it turns out, everyone already knows about Rose's supposed secrets, making Pearl feel less special and in denial.
Rose kept many things secret, even from us.
But not from me! I was the one she told everything!
She lashes out at the group, claiming that Rose never kept any secrets from her.
She probably just wanted to protect you like everyone else.
What do you know? You've never even met her!
We learn in a very harmonious scene that Pearl and Rose had a very deep relationship, and that she misses her greatly. Number 10. Pokemon. I really can't decide which episode is sadder, so I'll do both. In the episode Bye Bye Butterfree, our heroes are on their way towards Saffron City when Ash notices a group of Butterfrees. Brock says that it's their mating season, and all the Butterfrees are laying their eggs all over the sea. Ash and all the other trainers send their Butterfrees so that they could find their mates.
That's Butterfree's courtship dance.
Courtship dance?
It's Butterfree's way of saying, I want to be your Butterfree.
But it looks like Ash's Pokemon is getting the cold slap of rejection, and runs away. Suddenly, Team Rocket comes along and starts stealing all the Butterfrees, including this pink one that Ash's Butterfree liked. After a long adventure, the team manages to save all the Pokemon, and Ash's Butterfree impresses his lady friend. At the end of the episode, Butterfree has to leave Ash to be with his lady. They even show a flashback. What's saddest is that Butterfree never came back. Like all of Ash's older Pokemon returned in future episodes, but not Butterfree. There's also Pikachu's goodbye. When Pikachu finds a clan of wild Pikachus, he befriends them and even saves one of them. Brock mentions that it must be the best thing in the world for Pikachu to be with his own kind. Team Rocket shows up to rob all the Pikachus, but of course they're inevitably stopped. After celebrating, Ash realizes that what Brock said might be true, and decides that it's best to leave Pikachu with his kind. This time Pikachu does stay with Ash, and the two reunite for more seasons to come. But for Ash to lose his second ever Pokemon, right before almost losing his first, must have torn kids up everywhere. Number 9. SpongeBob. Have you seen this snail? Yes, there was also another sad episode where Gary left SpongeBob for Patrick, but this one is also very heart-wrenching. So, SpongeBob forgets to feed Gary for 10 days, causing him to run away and get lost. Now it's up for a saddened SpongeBob and Patrick to find Gary. It always sucks to see someone like SpongeBob so depressed and forlorn, and he's like that for almost the entire episode. Even the posters and signs are heartbreaking. And then, there's the song. You all know what song I'm talking about.
Gary, now I know I was wrong. I messed up, and now you're gone. Gary, I'm sorry I neglected you. Oh, I never expected you to run away and leave me feeling this empty.
So yeah, this is one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes. And it's not all down and gloomy. It has a very nice ending and some of Patrick's best bits.
SpongeBob, what happened? This picture is crooked.
Number 8. The Wild Thornberries. Rebecca dies. In this episode, a young Nigel befriends an elephant named Rebecca, and also saves her from the hunters. Years later, Eliza tries to find the same elephant to see if she remembers her father Nigel, since elephants seemingly never forget.
Smashing! Oh,
Smashing!
The two become friends and manage to save Rebecca's daughter Zita from a mud hole. The real sadness is towards the end of the episode, when a tired Rebecca dies in front of Eliza and her dad.
Please, Rebecca, don't go.
That is depressing because she was so likable, having known her for just one episode. And it's even worse seeing Eliza trying to deny the inevitable. Number 7. The ending to Dinosaurs. I tried not to put that many finales on this list because, well, of course it's going to be sad. Most of the time, it's sad because the show's ending, not because the finale itself is actually sad. But this is the most soul-crushing ending ever. And yes, it was on ABC, but look at it. Whose parents wouldn't show their child this? In the final episode, the migration of the bunch beetles is delayed, causing the vines, or cider poppies, to overgrow. Earl, the family dad, sprays massive amounts of defoliant that ends up wiping out all plant life. So, in a desperate act to revive all the plants, Richfield figures that it needs to rain again, and that rain comes from clouds. So he plans on throwing a bunch of bombs into volcanoes so that they would erupt, causing more clouds. However, instead of rain clouds, smoke clouds form, causing a global cooling that scientists say will take tens of thousands of years before the sun can melt away any of the snow.
Well, little guy, what happened was Daddy was put in charge of the world, and he didn't take real good care of it. And now it looks like there won't be much of a world left for you where your brother and sister to live in.
are we gonna move?
Well, no. There's no place to move to. This is the only world we got.
What's gonna happen to us?
As the camera zooms out and the sound of wind grows, the family prepares for their final night together. Number 6. Sesame Street, Mr. Hooper. When actor Will Lee died in 1982 due to a heart attack, the producers of Sesame Street were left confused over how to deal with his death in the show. His role as Mr. Hooper was so beloved by children that certainly they would notice his sudden disappearance. Therefore, ignoring it was out of the question. After consulting with some child psychologists, the head writer of the show, Norman Stiles, prepared a script designed to deal with the issue of death towards kids. Lee's cause of death was not mentioned, but the episode took a very honest and direct approach. Towards the end, Big Bird meets up with his adult friends to show them his drawings of each of them. He finally presents his drawing of Mr. Hooper and asks where is he, so that he can give it to him.
Where is he? Big Bird, don't you remember we told you? Mr. Hooper died. He's dead. Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, I'll give it to him when he comes back.
Big Bird, Mr. Hooper's not coming back.
Why not?
Big Bird, when people die, they don't come back.
Ever?
No, never.
Why not?
Well, Big
40
Bird,
minutes! Almost
they're
an
dead.
hour!
They can't come back.
Well, she's gonna come back.
Despite the adults' efforts to explain death to Big Bird, he's still confused, sad, and even in denial, which is really heart-clenching.
Oh, I don't understand. You know, everything was just fine. Why does it have to be this way? Give me one good reason.
Number 5. Courage's Parents. We all know this show is known for its dark humor and themes, and that's why it was as popular as it was. Like, really? This got past the censors? That's awesome. But even Courage had more sadder times in a few episodes. Actually, way more than you might think. In this episode, we learn about Courage's backstory and how he ended up with Muriel and Eustace. It turns out that when Courage was a small pup, his parents were kidnapped by a vet. They're stuffed into a rocket ship, to which Courage tries desperately to break them out, before being chased by the same vet. Courage manages to escape, but at the cost of his parents, now soaring into space. In present day, the same vet traps Muriel and Eustace, only this time Courage does manage to save them. And that's it. That's the episode. We see a young Muriel adopting Courage. We even see that his parents are still on some planet, but that's how the episode ends, and it's really sad. Just for Courage's parents to be robbed like that by a sadistic vet, really depressing for a kids show. Number 4. Avatar, The Tales of Ba Sing Se. This episode is a collection of mini-episodes, detailing the adventures of each main character in Ba Sing Se. It's all good fun, not one of the more heavier episodes. Except for the tale of Iroh. In this episode, Iroh visits a market, helps some kids, almost gets mugged, and then gets to know the mugger. But in the end, Iroh goes up a hill, sets up some